This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here, You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart. Don't question the fire that burns inside.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another edition of Extreme Resurrection here on the PTB Wrestling Feed. I am your co-host, Steve Rowe, and as joining me as always is Mr. James Gruenberg. Gruney, how are you, sir?
Steve, I'm doing well. It's a new year as we enter 2026. And, with old comes new, as now we don't know where any of the content is.
Yeah, well, we know where some of the content is, at least. We know that, for those of you that have been following along, know that at the beginning of the new year, not all of it, majority of the WWE content left Peacock. I believe the only thing that's still there are all the SmackDowns, because SmackDown's still on USA. And I know they're still going to do the NXT big events and the Saturday Night's main events. But as of right now, we know that all the PLEs are now on Netflix, and we think that the Raws are going to be there eventually. They're, of course, taking their sweet time with it, but as for the rest of the catalog, where there's the rumors that it's going to go to YouTube or whatever. So obviously, we'll have to do some digging around to find these episodes going forward, but we've been resourceful before, so I'm sure we'll be resourceful again.
Yeah.
Makes me long for the days though of the original network when everything was right there for us. So
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. So, but we did manage to. But we do have our next two episodes here that we did get to watch, and we're gonna get to talk about here. So we at least were able to pull that for you here. We're now, so our first episode we're talking here is from April 29th, 2008, from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Of course, that was the home of WrestleManias 4 and 5, known as Trump Plaza, but it is officially Boardwalk Hall. We are 2 days removed from Backlash 2008, which saw Kane retain the ECW championship over Chavo Guerrero, and what I thought was a fine match. Decent enough match. But what struck me most was that, considering that a lot of that build was about, Chavo having Bam Neely in his corner to help take Kane out, it seemed like Neely didn't really make much of a difference in that match. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
Well, I did not actually watch the match, but you would think that Bam Neely would have helped Chavo become the ECW champion again, but it wasn't in the cards.
No, it wasn't. So we'll now see if this officially ends Chavo as a contender, or if he still sticks around, and we'll see if Kane ends up moving on to somebody else here. But like I said, we are live from Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Our announcers are Mike Adamle and the Taz, as he likes to call him. We get our opening video recapping what happened at Backlash, and then we waste no time going into our first match here, which is a rematch from the previous week. That'll see Kofi Kingston and Shelton Benjamin face off again. Of course, they faced off the previous week with Kingston getting the win. So now Benjamin looking to get some revenge here. In fact, before the match, Benjamin cuts a promo saying that Kingston's win last week was a fluke, and he's going to prove it by beating him tonight. Lock up the start with Benjamin going behind Kingston and hooks a quick roll up for 1, and then he hits a clothesline for 1. Beats on Kingston and gets a knee in that hits a trio of slams for 2. Backbreaker into a submission on Kingston, who manages to fight out. Tries to rally, but then Benjamin catches a kick. Trips Kingston up for 2, rams the knee into him repeatedly, and then hits a modified backbreaker for 2 as he's really unloading the arsenal here. Benjamin drops a knee on Kingston, goes up top, but Kingston tries to battle back. Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading my notes wrong. Benjamin puts Kingston on the top and then goes up himself, but then Kingston shoves him off the top. But then Benjamin attempts to leap to the top rope, but then gets shoved off again. Kingston hits a crossbody, though Benjamin's able to roll through, gets 2. Kingston catches Benjamin ducking with a kick, then he leaps onto his shoulders, but Benjamin hits a really good electric chair for 2. Whips Kingston in the corner, hits the Stinger Splash as he then whips into the other corner, but misses a charge. And then Kingston hits a really quick Trouble in Paradise and is able to get the 3 and win the match. 3:43 your match time. I went a star in 3/4. It was, good little match again between these two. Almost actually was a squash in essence. Benjamin dominated Kingston. Until Kingston caught him at the end there with the Trouble in Paradise. And again, it just really goes to show how much faith they're showing in Kingston. I mean, that's now 2 straight wins over Shelton, the guy who's, seemed like was going to be a top heel for ECW. And now here he is, basically putting Kingston over clean twice. And I know I mentioned in our last episode that I wanted to see these two again, and we do get it here. And I'm sure we're probably going to get it again because honestly, they're really, I think, playing up this thing about Kingston constantly getting these wins, and Benjamin continuing to get frustrated here. So again, I thought it was a decent little match for the time we got, and Kingston's still climbing the ladder, and Benjamin now starting to get really frustrated as he seems to be stuck in neutral here now, losing these matches to Kofi.
Yeah, I gave this match 2 stars. I said Nathan, very good athleticism by Shelton, and I did like that crossbody reverse by Shelton, like when he reverses it for a cover from 2 by Kofi. I was surprised that Kofi got the win again. I thought Shelton would get it, and it would lead to like the 3rd match, like you said. So we will have to see where this feud goes. Maybe they'll have like a number 1 contenders match for who fights Kane for the ECW title or something.
It wouldn't be bad. I mean, you figure at this point that they maybe see Kofi as kind of being potential future at least contender for the ECW titles. I mean, he's still undefeated, and now he's getting a lot of the upper hand here in this little feud with Benjamin. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. We go to commercial, we come back, we get a shot of Atlantic City, and then we go into our second match, which this was the match we were supposed to get 2 weeks ago, but it got changed on us. And that is between Tommy Dreamer and Mike Knox. They were supposed to face off on April 15th in London, but of course, GM Armando Estrada pulled a fast one and put Colin Delaney in Dreamer's spot, and then he got squashed by Knox. And then the week before, these two fought in a mixed tag with Kelly and Layla as their partners. So now they finally face off here one-on-one. Good little pop for Dreamers. He comes out with Colin Delaney. Knox looking to, again, kind of reestablish himself as one of the top heels on the brand. Lock up the start with Dreamer getting some shots in. Rams Knox into the buckle and then stomps on him in the corner. Knox reverses a whip, but Dreamer blocks a hip toss, only for Knox to duck a shot and hit a clothesline. Stomping on Dreamer, drops an elbow on him, drives the knee into the back, and hooks a submission on. One thing I noticed also on the commentary, Adam Lee not really talking a lot. Is he seems like he's really deferring to Taz a lot on these points, and we'll get to that. That'll play a part in what we see later in the episode, and then also in our next episode. Dreamer fights to his feet, but Knox gets a shot and hits a really nasty back suplex for 1 as Colin's trying to check on Dreamer from the outside. And then Knox just slaps the back of Colin's head really, really hard. And then he goes outside and whips Colin into the steps. Dreamer hits a baseball slide, but he goes outside to check on Colin, but then Knox ends up sending him into the post. And then he throws Tommy back in the ring and hits his corkscrew facebuster for the win. 2.5 minutes your runtime. I gave it 3/4 of a star. Again, pretty much a squash. Knox dominated the majority of the match. Dreamer gets a little bit of offense, but then he gets distracted by what Knox does to Colin, and Knox is able to take advantage. So again, Mike Knox slowly getting built up again as a top heel, and we mentioned before in the previous match about potential challengers for Kane, and I've said it before a couple of times. Mike Knox, another guy I think they could potentially see as a future challenger for Kane.
Yeah, I gave it a star. It is nothing but a squash match. Knox dominates the whole match, and Tommy gets a few shots in, but then Knox just clotheslines Colin out of nowhere, kicks him down, and then for Tommy should not have checked up on Colin because it gave Knox time to recover and just give the corkscrew neck breaker. So yeah, 1 star for me.
Yeah, and they do mention on the commentary, I believe it was here that they mentioned about how Colin has a big match the next week where he could potentially finally earn his contract. So we'll talk about that when we get there. Back from the break, we get a special edition of The Classroom with Matt Stryker, who's been kind of MIA a little bit, but he's back here. He says that spring break is over, and he has a suspicion that everyone needs a teacher. He says he's reminded of the great Geddy Lee, and while everyone on ECW is becoming accustomed to Mike Adamle, SmackDown is also getting used to their own new voice on commentary, and he brings out his guest for this classroom, which is Mick Foley. Of course, Mick Foley had made his debut as the new SmackDown color commentator at Backlash 2 nights ago, which was a pretty good little surprise there that they have him in and have him replaced, because I think it was Jonathan Coachman prior to that. So they end up replacing Coach with Foley here. Foley says it's good to be back in an ECW ring, and Stryker says that in light of his new position, he put together a little lesson to help him out as they know about Foley's abilities as a performer. Foley reminds everyone that he was a two-time New York Times best-selling author and is a close friend of Katie Couric. As Stryker says that Foley was a fine author, and he says that Foley didn't have to appear on camera, that he's perfect for the job as he has a face suited for radio. Says that the eyes are the window to the soul. For Foley, it's not the eyes, but his smile, which is a window to his vulva. And he says it's obvious that Foley isn't getting fit anywhere anytime soon. He says that there's advancements in plastic surgery. Foley then says that he likes the way he looks because it reminds him of the sacrifices he made to entertain the fans. And he says from the looks of Stryker, he hasn't sacrificed anything and hasn't entertained anyone. Stryker says he's more adorable in perception as reality. As Foley responds saying that Stryker, as he says that Foley looks like he just rolled out of his dorm room. He asks about the sweatpants that Foley usually wears. And Foley says they carry more testicular fortitude than Stryker will ever have. Stryker says SmackDown has some of the best wrestlers, including him, so he asks if Foley knows his wrestling holds. At that point, Foley then pulls out Mr. Sacco. Stryker tries to protest, but then Foley says he has a lesson for him as he puts the mandible claw on Stryker, takes him to the mats. He's sitting, and then he kind of gives everyone the have a nice day as he then throws the Sacco to Adamle at the table, at the announce table. So, decent little segment here, kind of getting Foley reacclimated into the company as the like I said, as the new SmackDown announcer. It kind of funny because I believe the last time he was on ECW was at One Night Stand 06, where he cut one of the greatest heel promos of all time. So kind of funny seeing him back on ECW here as a face. But what did you think of this segment?
It was funny. It was good, and I was wondering if Coach was this when Coach left to go join ESPN. Was Coach gone by this time?
I'm not sure. I'll have to let me, because I thought he stuck around a little bit after this, but I could be wrong.
I thought he was Mr. McMahon's henchman still. I know we're in 08, but anywho, no. Mick Foley comes back after One Night Stand 2 because he fights Flair at SummerSlam. He did a promo on ECW then, and then he does another promo, I think, on ECW when the originals are going to take on the New Breed, saying that he was going to be there for WrestleMania WrestleMania 23, but it has been a while since we've seen Foley on ECW, and then Adam Lee puts the sock in his mouth.
Yeah. So Coach did leave in 2008. It was in June that he decided not to renew his contract when it expired. Then he did go to ESPN from 2008 to 2017, and then of course, as we know, he would come back in 2016 again as a commentator and served as a host again for a little bit while also working with NBC Sports. So you're right, yeah. So once so Coach was basically out after getting replaced by Foley.
Gotcha. So yeah, we're still on Michael Cole and Mick Foley, JR and the King, and now Mike Adam Lee and Taz. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's gonna change in a little bit. So we'll.
It is.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Yep.
So then we come back. We go to break, and then we come back with the. I'm gonna have some interesting things to say about this match, so I hope you can bear with me. So we get a definitely what feels like a very random generator match where just like pull two names out of a hat to have them face each other, as we have CM Punk, of course, Mr. Money in the Bank, taking on Chuck Palumbo, who I forgot was even still around at this point. Punk gets a good pop as he's going to talk about him having the briefcase. Really tepid heat for Palumbo. I don't even know if he even got a reaction as he comes out on his bike. Palumbo pie faces Punk at the beginning of the match. They lock up with Palumbo backing Punk into the corner. We get a clean break. Punk then goes behind Palumbo, again gets back into the corner, and Punk avoids a back elbow as the ref again tries to force a break. Palumbo gets a knee in, pounds away at Punk, and hits a slam but misses the elbow. Punk then kicks at Palumbo and rams his knees into him as Palumbo reverses a whip into the corner, then catches a boot attempt. Clothesline to Punk as he then rams him in the corner repeatedly and beats him a little bit more. Back suplex to Punk for two. He hooks a submission on, then drives his knee into Punk's back. He goes back to the submission on Punk, who then fights to his feet, breaks the hold, but then Palumbo gets a shot in. He then rams the shoulder into Punk's ribs repeatedly in the corner and stomps away at him as Punk then turns it around. The ref forces Punk back, and then Palumbo knocks him down. And then he continues to beat on Punk in the corner. Eventually, the ref gets to the 5 count and actually disqualifies Palumbo, giving Punk the win. And then after the match, the ref tries to get the two apart as they end up having to get in each other's faces. They continue to brawl with each other. Punk hits a standing Seguri on Palumbo, beats on him in the corner, but then Palumbo shoves in the way that hits a clothesline on Punk before heading to the back. So 3:28 your match time, and I don't know what the hell what happened here. I don't know if these two guys had like legit heat with each other behind the scenes. It just spilled out onto here, but they just not seem in sync at all in this match. And the ending of it makes no sense. Obviously Punk needed a win, but why is he winning by DQ? This is a spot where Palumbo should be putting Punk over clean. I mean, Palumbo's not going anywhere. Punk's your, Money in the Bank winner. He's a future world champion, and he's looking like a bitch here to Palumbo in essence. I mean, he can't win it clean, and then Palumbo ends up punking him out, no pun intended, after the match is over. So, again, I don't know if there was a legit heat between the two or what, but it just did not work for me. And you might be shocked by this grading. I actually gave this a dud. I hated this with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, I gave this half a star. I can understand why you hated it. You would think that it's the small guy versus the big guy here, but really, this match was boring. I would say it was boring. I'm surprised that the fans were chanting boring as nothing really from both guys. I said that Palumbo had nice clotheslines and again always the nice kicks by Punk, but why are we having a disqualification? I mean, are they going to try this again down the line or next week or something? I did not understand the finish at all as well.
Yeah, it just made no sense. This is, again, CM Punk is your Money in the Bank briefcase holder. He's probably going to be at some point a world champion, if not on ECW, but at least on Raw or SmackDown. And you have this, and nothing against Chuck Palumbo, but at this point in 2008, he was like absolutely like one of the bottom of the totem pole, and he's just just acting like he's just coming out like an absolute dick to Punk, basically. Like, he feels like almost like he felt like he was better than Punk, and tried to pull like a superiority play or something like that. So just, I don't know, just completely stupid. And really, I think kind of cucks Punk a little bit here when he should be getting, put over really strong.
Yeah, so I don't know what I mean. Palumbo kind of looks good here. Looks bigger, and like he looks like he's massive. But I just did not understand this at all.
No, absolutely not. We then get the Raw rebound where we see William Regal being coronated as king, but we then see kind of his him going losing his mind throughout the night, thinking that he's not being respected by everybody. And then, of course, the big moment, the main event of that show was a match between Triple H and Randy Orton for the WWE title, because at Backlash, Triple H had won that fatal 4-way. That involved him, Orton, John Cena, and JBL to become champion. So Orton was getting his rematch, and Regal had the match cut off from the broadcast. So that, of course, would set up what would we get between them at Judgment Day, and just kind of continued, Regal's little essentially his abuse of power as both the Raw GM and as king. So do you remember anything about that, like that Raw in that match with the with Regal cutting it off?
I feel like I remember watching it and being like, wait, what's going on? So I probably definitely watched this episode of Raw and was like, at the time, because in '08 I was a sophomore, being like, wait, what just happened? Regal just shut the show off? Like, really? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still interested to see if it was like, where it was going. Because I think we'll probably talk about what happens with Regal in the weeks to come, because it does get cut short, unfortunately, but we'll do get there eventually. We go back to come from break. We get another shot outside of Atlantic City, and then we get to our main event here, which is a handicap match that will see the ECW champion Kane take on Chavo Guerrero and Bam Neely. So it is 2-on-1. So unfortunately, it looks like Chavo's still going to be in the title picture, much to everybody's chagrin. But here we get a very interesting development here, because as Chavo and Bam come out and are waiting, all of a sudden Mike Adamle just leaves the commentary table just for no rhyme or reason. Just takes his headset off and just walks away. And at one point, Taz is like, wait, where are you going? And then as Kane's coming out during his entrance, Taz then leaves and follows after him. So basically, through the entire match, we get no commentary. So before we get to the match, what did you think of this whole thing with Adamle walking out and Taz following him?
Okay, I thought this was really weird, and I remember again watching this back in 2008, being like, "What's going on?" Then I heard a story from Something to Wrestle With when Bruce and Conrad were talking about ECW on Sci-Fi from 2006 to 2010, and Bruce says that he was backstage with Vince, and Vince goes, "What if I just say for Mike Adamle to go to the back?" And he's like, okay. So Vince literally was in the back, like on the microphone, on the headset, saying, "Mike, take off your headset and come to the back." And Mike Adamle did so. And then Taz did not know what to do. I think then Taz was like, "Oh, go to the back as well." So then Taz just walked out. And then Bruce was like, "Oh, everything's fine. We're just doing this for a jokingly reason." It's like, what's the joke? There is no joke. I mean, unless they knew that Mike Adamle was bad at his job here, and they were like, "We can't have commentary on this match because it's been a bad night," then that would be a great explanation.
Yeah, it just seemed really weird. Like, I know at this point, the backlash against Adamle was really kind of heating up, with him taking over for Joey and him constantly not getting it, which is for a guy like him who's done commentary before for other sporting events, you think this would be a little bit easier for him. Now, obviously, commentating a normal sporting event versus commentating a wrestling event is different, but yeah, just felt very out of nowhere, and I think it kind of affects the match because anytime you have a match with no commentary, it's harder to get into it. Particularly like if you're in the arena, it's one thing, but if you're watching on TV, I think it kind of hurts. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I do agree with you because we've seen it before when actually it was Jim Ross and the King versus Al Snow and Coach at Unforgiven 03, and there was no commentary.
Yeah, I think they did it, and I think they did it again at I think it was New Year's Revolution 05 when King fought Muhammad Hassan, and JR was in his corner to counter Daivari, and there was no commentary there either. So. Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. But anyway, on to the match here. So Kane starts off with Chavo, knocks him down, and then rams into the buckle, beats on him in the corner, hits a snapmare and a low drop kick. Chavo tries to battle back, but then Kane hits a press slam. He whips Chavo into the corner. Then Chavo catches him with a back elbow as he goes up to the middle rope, but Kane blocks the tornado DDT. He sends Chavo to the mat and goes for the choke slam, but then Neely pulls Chavo to the outside as they regroup. Should mention that Neely actually wrestling in a suit, just without the jacket and the tie. So interesting outfit choice there. We go to break. When we come back, Chavo goes up top, but King grabs him and tosses him to the mat. But Chavo ducks a boot and hits a drop kick to the knee. Neely tags in for the first time as King kicks and pounds on him, but Neely is able to turn it around. King gets a knee in, and Neely reverses a whip as Chavo gets a shot in from the apron. Neely beats on Kane in the corner as Chavo chokes him, and they continue to double team as Chavo tags in. They keep beating him down, but Kane bows back and backdrops Chavo over to the top of the floor. He throws Chavo back in, but Chavo gets a shoulder in. Kane then catches him with a knee, but Neely then pulls Kane to the floor, and Kane looks like he tweaks his knee as Chavo goes outside and kicks at the knee before throwing him back in the ring. He rams Kane's knee into the apron repeatedly and then tags Neely, who continues to punish the knee. They work some double teams as they keep going back and forth, kind of keeping the pressure on the knee as Kane tries to keep battling back. Kane then grabs him by the throat, grabs Chavo by the throat, but then his knee buckles. Chavo hits a drop kick on Kane, who sits up, but Kane bows back and then hits a backdrop on Chavo. He splashes Chavo twice in the corner, hits a sidewalk slam for 2, thanks to Neely breaking it up, and then Kane knocks him down. Chavo again goes after the knee and tags Neely, but then Kane gets a shot in and rams Neely into the buckle. Beats on him in the corner, then hits a sidewalk slam on Neely, goes up top, hits the flying clothesline. He then slings Chavo into the ring, grabs him by the throat, but then Neely kicks at Kane's knee, kicks him down. And Chavo tags in, goes up top, and hits the frog splash, which actually gets the 3, and he pins Kane to win the match for himself and Neely. 9:49 your match time. I'm with 2 stars. It was a decent little handicap match. They continue the story about Kane's knee being injured, and they kind of spend the majority of the match focusing on that. Kane tries to valiantly fight through the match, but he ends up falling to the numbers. I thought Neely looked okay, given that this was his debut. He has a decent little offense there, but again, why I thought we were finally past Chavo when Kane pinned him clean at Backlash, and yet here he is now again pinning Kane in a handicap match, signifying that he's still going to be in the title hunt when he's now lost to him twice, in 2 big matches. So I don't know. We really need to move on here from Chavo and get somebody else in the mix here to fight Kane.
It is time to move on, and Chavo is going to be sticking around in our next episode with Bam Neely as well. When we get there, you would think that it was time for Kane to move on to somebody else, but no, we're still with Chavo. I liked Bam Neely and Chavo's double team work. They distracted the referee a lot, and they were working on Kane's knee. Good matchup here, And I was surprised that Chavo gets the win. I thought Kane was going to get the win and put this feud to rest finally, but no, he does not. I gave it 2 stars as well.
Yeah, they've got some good guys on the brands too that can really put good matches on with Kane, but it's just they're still sticking. And I know part of it again is because the La Familia story is still going on SmackDown, with Edge and Vicky and everything, but I don't know. There's so many better guys on this brand that they could put in a spot with Kane here than Chavo. So hopefully, by the time we get to Judgment Day, we hopefully don't have a third Kane Chavo match.
Yeah, put Chuck Palumbo with Kane.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But I was thinking more Mike Knox. I mean, it seems like that's what they're building him to.
Yeah.
So.
Or you could add Shelton too, like Shelton Benjamin. I know he loses to Kofi a lot, but again, you had the opportunity right then and there. Even when Shelton was fighting Punk, they went with Chavo versus Punk for some reason.
Yeah, and I've made that point clear numerous times that it should have been Shelton to get that spot instead of Chavo. So
absolutely,
yeah, but. Well, we'll see what happens. So we go on now to our second episode here from May 6th, 2008. We are at the Bot Center in London, Ontario, Canada. And this is a big episode, Gruney, because it is the 100th episode of ECW on Sci-Fi. Can you believe it?
I cannot. And I'm surprised that this lasted 100 episodes.
Yeah, you've covered pretty much all 100 of them. So
yes.
So we get our opening video, and then we open with Mike Adamle, who comes down to the ring and actually is about to cut a promo here. He says that a lot of people have asked about his actions last week and why he walked out. He says that he lost his cool and wants to apologize to Taz as well as all the fans of ECW. He says that he's been a broadcaster longer than most have been alive, which I don't know if I'd admit that. He played in the NFL for 7 years and then covered the league for 9 more. He said that he covered 4 different Olympics and was also the host of American Gladiators. He said that he says that he has no idea how hard the job would be, and he calls the fans great, even though he's made mistakes. He says there's a group of superstars who aren't shy about letting him know when he screws up, and he's here to say that he loves WWE and loves working for ECW, as he will do everything in his power to be professional and bring the best product that the fans deserve. He says they can despise him if they want, but he hopes that they enjoy the 100th episode of ECW Sci-Fi. He thanks them for listening as he then heads to the commentary table. So again, just really weird stuff here. It's like, I don't know if they were trying to, if he was trying to cut like a heel promo, like he's like almost like, how dare you fans, insult me. I have all this experience behind me, and yes, I made a few mistakes, but you're, vilifying me and everything. It's just, it's just really weird. It's like, I don't know if they, were intended for it to go this way, but it just, I don't know, just. I don't mind. I don't mind Mike Adamle being in this company, but there's a role that could have been better suited for him, and it's not as a commentator, and definitely not as like a heel commentator, no less.
It is not the commentating role for him. He should have been the ECW backstage interviewer. And it's like, well, Lita Yada is the interviewer because she can't wrestle. But now it's like Mike Adamle can't do commentary. You should have put him as an interviewer for either like Raw or SmackDown or something.
Well, the thing is that when he debuted at the Royal Rumble, it was as like a interviewer, like a host almost, and the fact that he inadvertently called Jeff Harvey, I think started the downward spiral. So,
oh yeah, that's right. I didn't know where that actually came from, and was like, well, this guy's not going to last. And Vince was like, oh, put him on commentary. I don't understand Vince McMahon at all. Nobody does.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? All right. Well, we do kick off our 100th episode here with a pretty big rematch from last week. That is, again, Tommy Dreamer versus Mike Knox, but this time it is an Extreme Rules match. And we do have a guest commentator with us tonight, Stevie Richards, who we have not seen on TV since the April 1st ECW when he got squashed by Mike Knox. So it all ties in there. We'll talk about Stevie in a second because this actually is his last TV appearance, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that shortly. Dreamer, of course, plays up to the crowd. He has a Toronto Blue Jays jersey on as he comes down with his little the shopping cart of plunder for this match here with Knox. Lock up as Knox gets a kick in and beats on Dreamer, then knocks him down but misses the elbow. Dreamer beats on Knox and clotheslines him over the top to the floor. And then rams Knox in the barricade, chokes him with the jersey. And then he rams him into the steps as he then grabs the shopping cart, but Knox hits a clothesline. He grabs a baking sheet and hits Dreamer in the back with it as both men roll back into the ring. Knox hits a really nice delayed suplex for 2. He stomps on Dreamer, chokes him on the ropes as he slams him down, or slams down his back and then goes back outside, brings a trash can to the ring and puts it on the apron, then grabs a hockey stick, only for Dreamer to hit a baseball slide to the trash can that gets driven into Knox. Dreamer goes outside and grabs the hockey stick as he hits Knox in the back with it and throws him back into the ring. Then grabs the Singapore cane and an oar, of all things, as he then hits Knox with a cane, then breaks the oar over Knox's head. Dreamer then goes back outside and throws the cart into the ring as he gets back in, as he sets Knox up for suplex, but Knox slams Dreamer out of the cart in a nasty spot, then stomps on him and goes up top, but Dreamer crunches him on the top rope. He puts Knox in the tree of woe, beats on him with the cane. He then gets the trash can and props both the can and the cart against Knox, and then he hits the baseball slide that drives both into Knox's face, which I thought was a really cool looking spot there. Dreamer goes back outside and grabs a table that he brings into the ring and props it up in the corner. He looks for a bulldog, but Knox counters into a back suplex that puts Dreamer through the table for 2. Thought that was a good spot. Knox goes back outside, brings a chair into the ring, but Dreamer ducks a swing, kicks the chair back in Knox's face, and he hits Knox in the back with a chair and goes for the DDT, but Knox is able to hit a low blow and then hits the corkscrew facebuster out of the chair. That's enough for him to get the 3 and win the match. So 6:31 your match time, and I actually gave this 2 1/4. I thought this was a nice little fun brawl here between these two. You get your standard, the standard weapons. Like that they broke out the hockey stick in Maple Leafs country. I thought the oar was an interesting little weapon that you never see used. And Dreamer, doing what he usually does best, getting his offense in and then eventually putting the guy over. And again, you think after such a dominant win by this that that Mike Knox would be on the fast track to potentially challenging Kane for the ECW title. Not to sound like a broken record, but that seems like where they're going with this. So again, I thought this was a good little match. Knox obviously needed the win more, and I thought this little feud here has been good for Knox to kind of get him back in, because after being MIA for most of 2007 and even early 2008, it seems like we're finally reestablishing him as this dominant heel here on the brand.
Yeah, I gave it a star and 3/4. I thought it was a good fun brawl by both men. I did like Tommy's baseball slide spot into the garbage can and the grocery cart as well. I was surprised. I was a little surprised that Knox got the win, but again, they want to present him as a dominant force. I would have thought that Tommy would get the win in his playground of ECW of Extreme Rules, but no. But it's fine though, because again, they're trying to put Knox as this monster heel here. So a star and 3/4 for me. You were talking about Steven Richards on commentary, and this is his last appearance. I honestly would not have minded if they fired Mike Adamle and gave Taz and Stevie Richards ECW commentary. I think that would have been a team.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah, because I thought I did think Stevie was good here on commentary. I don't know if he would have be a good play-by-play guy, because I think he works well in the more of the color role like Taz. But yeah, I thought he brought some good points in. Obviously, he's been in those kind of matches before, and he has a lot of great. He's got great respect for Tommy, and they even bring up how I think it was Adam Lee brought up how Stevie was in the very first ECW match back in 1992. So. breaking out, the kind of breaking out the history there, which I thought was a nice little touch. But yeah, so this is Stevie's last appearance. He would be released that August after working a few house shows. Mainly worked the indie scene. He does, of course, have a run in TNA when he goes there in 2009. He's the as far as I remember, he's the infamous Dr. Stevie feuding with Abyss. And he would, be part of that. He would also be part of when they did their little like ECW brand that like EV 2.0 until 2011. And like I say, he pretty much worked the indies, had a little run in Ring of Honor from 2015. Of course, now has his own podcasts that he does, and his own YouTube YouTube show that he does. And of course, longtime PTB fans will know that back in 2011, Scott and Justin actually interviewed Stevie for the Place to Be podcast. So if you want to go back to the archives, that episode's on there, and Stevie talks all about his career, including his time on in this new ECW, and then talks about like everything else he has going on. So you could kind of forget that Stevie had such a extended run in WWE. I mean, he came in '99 with the Blue Meanie. They were doing the whole mocking other guys sort of thing, and then of course in 2000 he completely switches gears and does the Right to Censor. Which is probably, the thing he's probably most remembered for in his WWE run. That goes until 2001. Then he has a little brief, stint in the Alliance. Then he has, the run for the Hardcore title. And then, of course, the relationship with Victoria throughout like 02 and 03. Probably his lowest moment, though, would be when it was in 04 when he does the whole like cross-dressing thing with Victoria, saving her when he's dressed in drag. And that horrible match he has with Tyson Tomko in Unforgiven 04. Then he has a little like brief reunion with the BWO in 05, and then like I said, then as we talked about, kind of one of the stalwarts here of this new ECW. But what would you say probably like if you had to talk about Stevie's run like in WWE, how would you rate his run?
Oh, it was good. Like he played his part. Mid Carter, he had some hardcore titles. Very good heel with the Right to Censor group. If you recall, Stevie almost got fired in 2001 because he got scared that Vince was going to fire him when he fired Chronic. So he told Undertaker and Kane, give me a double choke slam and make it look good. And he says that's what saved his job, because he was like, well, I think I'm going to get fired because Chronic's going to get fired. So he saved his job there. I liked Stevie Night Heat when he was on commentary with Coach when they were trying to find a new replacement for Sunday Night Heat guys. So that was fun. The relationship with Victoria and all of that. I think even I think it's Chris Masters who actually accidentally breaks Stevie's nose, if I'm not mistaken, in Chris's debut. Actually, he breaks Stevie's nose too.
That's right. Yeah, that was when Masters gave him that like Polish hammer and hit him in the face and broke his nose. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but Stevie played his part well. It was a very great run, and if Kevin Thorne, they were trying a lot with Kevin Thorne and Stevie, that whole feud, and then they go with they spark it again with Mike Knox too.
Yeah, just really reliable hands with Stevie, and he's definitely going to be missed. But I think again, we're seeing throughout 2008 the change for ECW, kind of like that old guard being phased out, and these new faces coming in. So,
But it's so weird because now Tommy's like the last old guard left.
Yeah, pretty much.
So. Everyone else is gone, and Tommy stays until the very end again. Yeah, again, that's that's probably the funniest thing. Tommy was the last man standing in the old ECW, and he's the last man standing in the new ECW too, basically.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there, obviously.
Oh no, 2030, right? I got you.
So obviously with this being the 100th episode, we do get a lot of flashbacks to previous episodes, and we get our first one here as we see from the very first episode of ECW from June 13th, 2006. Of course, that was the night we saw the zombie, and he gets destroyed by the Sandman. So that was, of course, when at the very beginning where they're going to have all these like random like characters show up on ECW just to have Sandman demolish them. Like you had the zombie. I think one week you had the Nacho Libre guy, and a couple of other ones. So
yeah, Big Dick Johnson too.
Yeah,
Big Dick Johnson.
Yeah, really playing up into the fact that they were on Sci-Fi. So
yep.
We get commercial. We come back. We get a segment we haven't seen in a while. It's Kelly's expose, which of course was a big kind of selling point of when ECW debuted. So Kelly is in the ring and she does a dance. But then at one point Layla comes out just randomly, and then she starts dancing herself. They kind of go back and forth. They kind of like one shoves the other way as they kind of dance back and forth again. As we always say, Layla completely outclasses Kelly in terms of the dancing. Eventually Kelly gets has enough, and then she slaps Layla in the face and they brawl until officials come out and separate them. So the one never-ending feud on ECW continues on between Kelly and Layla.
It's their they think that this is their saving point for the ECW show. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's like it's like both girls are obviously very hot, but it's like that they're not the selling point of ECW. They're filler.
And Layla can actually wrestle and do moves. Kelly's just still green.
Yeah. Layla is just on another level to Kelly, not just like you said in the ring, but also in terms of the dancing. I mean, you watch Kelly dance, for that little bit, but then you watch Layla come in and dance, and it's like it's not even close.
Mm-hmm. They got to get Layla off of ECW.
Yeah, or at some point at least bring some other divas in to kind of mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, because I remember this was like the Beth Phoenix run and a whole bunch of other divas still there.
Yeah. We then get our next ECW highlight, which is from the September 26th, 2006 ECW. This was the infamous Extreme Rules match between Rob Van Dam and Hardcore Holly, which of course saw Holly hit a suplex off the apron through a table, and of course completely sliced his back open, which is one of the grossest things ever. I mean, again, kudos to the guy for completing the match with his back completely sliced open, which I know you and Mike Cook talked about that when you talked that episode. Still one of the nastiest spots they've ever had.
Yeah, and that would put Hardcore Holly on the shelf for a while, and then he would come back in 2007 to team up with Cody Rhodes. But that match was very, very brutal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially with the spot itself.
Right. Yeah. So then we get a break, and then we come back. We have another highlight here, and that's from the June 26th, 2007 ECW. This was when Roddy Piper made a special appearance. It was Matt Stryker's birthday, and of course they kind of went back and forth, and then Piper shoved a birthday cake in Stryker's face, and then of course that led then to the Boogeyman coming out and attacking Stryker and sticking the worms in his mouth. So that would of course be the catalyst for Stryker bringing in Big Daddy V to ECW.
Yeah, again, a fun segment there. He calls him Mark, but he's like, it's Matt. And he goes, oh, happy birthday, Matt. And that's what got us Big Daddy V for a little while.
Yeah. We then get highlights from last week's episode, which if I remember was the match between Punk and Chuck Palumbo. Then Lita Yada the aforementioned Lena Yada interviews Chuck Palumbo, who says that Punk got in his face and he's letting Punk know if it happens again, he'll take him out, and that's a promise. So pretty basic stuff there. But again, I don't know if they ever do anything with it. But we'll just have to wait and see.
That's like a typical biker promo guy, like, "Oh, get in my face, I'm gonna take you out, man."
Yeah, just
jeez, that looked bad. It looked terrible.
Yeah, it did. But that leads us here to our next match, which sees one of our top rising stars, Kofi Kingston, take on the aforementioned Matt Striker. So Kofi taking a break from Shelton for the week here, but Shelton actually comes out to do commentary for the match. So we have another guest commentator. Kofi and Striker square off with Kingston briefly getting distracted by Benjamin, and that allows Striker to take advantage. He hits a back suplex for one, but then Kingston kicks him away. As Striker then catches a kick attempt, but Kingston ducks a shot, drop kick, and the double leg drop to Striker for two. Striker gets a shot in, shoves Kingston down, but then he then tries to whip Kingston in the ropes, but then Kingston like ricochets off them. He does like the thing where he dives into the top rope and bounces back. I think that's the first time he's done that. And then hits Trouble in Paradise for the win. But after the match, Benjamin quickly gets in the ring and then kicks at Kingston, and then hits the pay dirt before handing to the back. So minute 8 seconds, your match time. I gave it half a star. Pretty much a squash here. Kofi, gets a quick win here over Striker, kind of keep his momentum going, and then Benjamin kind of gets the last shot in to keep their feud going. So that's pretty much all there is to say here.
Yeah, I gave it a quarter star. Not much from Striker, but again, a nice performance by Kofi. What I am surprised about is that the pyro has not been going off yet for Kofi. When does that happen with the boom boom? Well, the Trouble in Paradise booms and the pyro connect together. But we'll see when that happens, hopefully. But again, a nice performance by Kofi. I like how they have a different guy on commentary for almost each match, except for our next match here. There are two commentators for the main event, but I think this was great to take the pressure off Adam Lee a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking maybe the pyro doesn't kick in until until Kofi's on Raw. So I don't know if we may not get to see it. So we'll see, because I know he's obviously around for a while. So we'll see if we do get it before then. We then go backstage where Colin Delaney is walking down the hallway as the members of the ECW roster kind of give him, start applauding him and wishing him luck for his big match. That takes us to break. When we come back, we get highlights then from the April 3rd, 2007 ECW, which of course had the ECW Originals New Breed Extreme Rules match, which was a great match, and saw the New Breed get their win back from WrestleMania. And it does make me a little bit sad, because you look at that match and you think, particularly the New Breed, those 4 guys are going places, and now here we are over a year later, and of those 8 guys, only 2 are still here, Striker and Dreamer. Everybody else is either gone or are on the verge of being gone.
It's crazy. I mean, you looked at Marcus Corvan, who looked like $1 million. And then you look at Elijah Burke, who got the win. Even Striker took hard shots from Sabu and Rob Van Dam. He looked like he was going to throw up and pass out, from the getting the wind knocked out of him, and all those shots too. And I think it was Burke who got the Elijah Express on Sabu, and yeah, that match was awesome. I think I gave it being 4 stars actually, and that match was great.
Yeah, it's just the ultimate what could have been with the New Breed. Just really sad.
Mm-hmm.
That takes us now to our next match, which is a pretty big one. It is Colin Delaney taking on the general manager of ECW, Armando Estrada. Of course, the stipulation here, if Colin is able to win the match, he will finally earn his contract for ECW that he's been gunning for ever since he debuted late December. Doesn't get a big reaction, though. I'm kind of surprised. I thought he'd get a little bit, more of a better reaction than he did. He gets a nice little pop, but not as big as I thought maybe it would be for a guy that's really been trying to, they've been trying to, get a lot of support behind him. Estrada is looking extremely jacked. I mean, he is like muscled up, toned. It's like, I think a lot of people tend to forget that before he was a manager, he was a wrestler back in like the developmentals. So he's definitely looking jacked up here. And even, he's himself is not that big of a guy, but even against him, Delaney's looking like looks like a toothpick compared to him. And like you said, we get no guest commentary for this one, surprisingly enough, when we probably could have used, maybe, could have been nice to use one. Lock up to start as Delaney gets a quick roll up for 2, and then Estrada hits a really big clothesline, and then slaps Delaney repeatedly. Beats on him in the corner, hits a big hip toss for 2, hooks a submission on as Colin tries to battle back. Estrada yanks him to the mat by his hair and then whips him in the corner, but misses a charge as Delaney starts to fire up. He then Delaney goes for a drop kick, but Estrada holds the ropes to avoid it. And then he sends Delaney through the ropes to the apron, knocks him to the floor, and then pulls him back onto the apron. But then Delaney, out of nowhere, slides under him and then hooks a sunset flip, which it does get to 3, but it looked like the ref counted 4 almost. It felt like really weird because there really wasn't much of there was like a delayed reaction. Like once the crowd realized like what had happened, they go kind of start to get behind Colin, but Colin does get the 3 off that sunset flip. He does get the win, and he finally gets his contract. So he does win. After the match, he runs around, celebrates with the fans. Taz comes up to him for an interview, and Colin says that all the beatings he suffered was worth it. He thanks everybody who supported him. Thanks Tommy Dreamer for being his mentor. And he says that the ones that doubt him motivate him as he promises to move on from here. So 2:24 your match time. I give it a star. Again, pretty much, Estrada dominating Colin until Colin surprised him there at the end. Again, I thought, I was kind of hoping for a little bit of a better pop, but I think, again, like I said, I think they were a little confused by the finish. But they do give Colin a good reception after they realize that he won. But now it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, because we pretty much spent the better part of this first half of the year, establishing Colin as this gritty underdog trying to earn his contract, getting screwed over, left and right by Estrada. Now he's got his contract. We'll see now if he can, if he just becomes another guy, or if maybe they can still build on this and continue to kind of make him the ultimate underdog of ECW, even though now he's, finally won a match. So it was a good moment there for Colin. To finally get his contract and everything. But now it's going to be, like I said, interesting to see how they build off it.
Yeah, I give it a star as well. Like you said, Estrada looked jacked. Like you would think that it's like, why isn't this guy wrestling more? Like it's like, wow, like he wasn't just like a jobber in pants. Like he looked like he legit should be wrestling and not being a general manager. But he was good on the mic with Umaga, and he suits his role. He suits his role. Now I think that Colin has a contract, and I think Estrada's going to torture him even more now, because now it's like, well, you beat me, but since you're under contract, I can do anything I want to you now.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I was thinking about this, watching this. I think maybe what I think really would have helped Colin get over a little bit more, and maybe this is just a little fantasy booking on my part, but I think what they probably would have been cool was that back in the winter when Colin and Dreamer were feuding with Morrison and Miz for the tag titles, they should have had a moment where Dreamer and Colin win the tag titles from Morrison and Miz. But then, like the next week when they're celebrating, Estrada comes out and says, "Hey, Colin, you're not a contracted superstar. You can't hold a title." So he strips them of the belts, gives them back to Morrison and Miz, and then you have Colin kind of chasing the contract, and then he finally gets it here, and then he and Dreamer go back for the tag titles, saying, "Hey, we never lost them officially, and we should get another shot at them and maybe build towards an eventual rematch between Dreamer and Colin against Morrison and Miz." I don't know. I thought that maybe just put a little bit more heat on everything, put more heat on Estrada, and it put more support behind Colin, because could say like he won a title but had it taken away from him because of a technicality, that sort of thing. So now I'm working to get that contract so I can get back to getting being a champion again.
Yeah, that would have been a good storytelling. I like that idea. Because again, we saw Miz and Morrison versus Tommy and Colin those couple of times there as well. That would have been a great feud too. So again, like you said, we'll have to see what happens with Colin now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we go to break. When we come back, speaking of Morrison and Miz, they're out on commentary here for our main event. That's going to be kind of a pseudo rematch from the previous week, as Chavo Guerrero and Bam Neely will take on the ECW champion Kane. But this time, Kane has a partner, and that is Mr. Money in the Bank CM Punk. So again, it seems like they're moving, Punk away from Palumbo here and putting him in this little, putting him in the main feud here. Kane and Punk get a good pop from the crowd. Chavo and Neely get good heat. Neely now wearing just regular tights after wearing the suit last week. So kind of, interesting choice there. Morrison and Miz are completely they rip Adamly apart throughout this entire match. I thought they were really entertaining here on commentary. Just kind of, getting their 2 cents in, and like I said, and just kind of like ripping Adamly throughout most of it. Kane and Neely start off. Neely tries to go for the leg, but Kane beats on him. Neely then gets some shots in on the leg, but then Kane hits a clothesline, a slam to Neely, and he tags Punk, who hits a slingshot somersault senton for 1. He goes to work on Neely's arm, hits a pair of flying forearms, but then Neely knocks him down and tags Chavo. Neely hits a slam, and Chavo tries a slingshot splash, but Punk gets his knees up and hits a snap suplex for 2. Hooks a submission on Chavo, who gets out with a pair of knees. He knocks Punk down. Punk gets a shot to Neely that knocks him off the apron, but then Chavo backdrops. Chavo backdrops Punk over the top. Neely's end up. No, sorry, I read that wrong. Chavo backdrop Punk over. Punk backdrop Chavo over the top, but Neely catches Chavo and then sets him down as they regroup. That takes us to a commercial break. And when we come back, Punk is still working on Neely's arm, kicks at him and continues to work the arm. Neely then reverses a whip to the corner. Chavo tags in, gets some shots in as he chokes him on the ropes and then knocks him down for 1. Continues to work on him. Punk tries to bow back, but then Chavo takes in the mat, hits a somersault senton for 2. Hooks a submission on Punk, who gets to his feet, but Chavo sweeps his leg out, slams into the mat. Neely tags in and kicks at Punk, stomps on him, gets a 1 count as Punk again tries to battle back. Neely then hits a back suplex for 2, tags Chavo, who hits a slingshot stomp. Chavo then hits his own back suplex for 2, hooks on a submission while stomping on him, and then gets a cheap shot on Kane. Chavo beats on Punk in the corner along with Neely as he tags in and continues to dominate. Punk then leaps over the top rope, lands on the apron, but he gets the shot, he then hits a nice springboard clothesline on Neely, gets the hot tag to Kane. Kane's able to then kind of clean house on both guys, hits the big boot and backdrop on Chavo before splashing him twice. Sidewalk slam to Chavo. He then knocks Neely to the floor, presses Chavo up, dumps him over the top to the apron. He then goes up top, hits a flying clothesline to Chavo as Punk also tags in, and then he tries a springboard clothesline, but Chavo avoids it, though Punk is able to land on his feet. Hits a drop kick to Chavo. They kind of go back and forth a little bit until Punk sends Chavo into the corner. He then hits the running knee, but Chavo blocks the bulldog. Punk then hits a standing enziguri for 2, which Neely breaks up. Kane then hits a big boot on Neely, and Chavo's able to hit a chop block on Kane, but Kane gets a shot in, and then Punk hoists Chavo up, hits the go to sleep to get the 3. After the match, Punk and Kane then have a stare down with Morrison and Miz, and that's what takes us off the air. So 10:04 your match time. I went 2 1/4. It was again, good little tag match. I thought Neely looked a little better this week than he did last week. Punk and Kane actually, I thought, had decent little chemistry as a team, and now it looks like we're setting something up with Punk and Kane against Miz and Morrison, which, again, it just feels like it's just kind of out of nowhere. It's like you have Kane, who's your champion, and not only do you have like a strong contender for him, now you have him and a guy that could potentially take the title from him, and Punk going for the tag titles. And it makes Morrison and Miz still look, like, big time players as we've seen them be over the year. They kind of have elevated the SmackDown tag titles, but again, it's like you have all this talent here on ECW and enough guys there that could have credible feuds with Kane, and all of a sudden you have Kane and Punk in this tag feud with Miz and Morrison for the tag titles out of nowhere. It's just I don't know, just really, really weird.
Yeah, I gave this matchup 2 stars. Very good work by CM Punk and Kane, and more good work on Neely. Bam really playing his role as the La Familia enforcer, especially for Chavo here. And it is weird that now we're gonna get down the line CM Punk and Kane versus Morrison and Miz, because like they just literally just look at them like, oh, we've been gunning for you boys. It's like, have you, or did someone say, hey, just look at them like you want to feud with them, really?
Yeah, and it's like, it'd be one thing if like Morrison and Miz wanted the ECW title because that's the big belt, but they're making it more like now the tag titles are more important than the ECW titles. So I mean, again, I'm all for putting some emphasis on the tag titles, but not at the expense of what's supposed to be your brand's top title.
Yeah, I agree, and like it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. You would think that like Punk would just keep on facing down Kane, because again, Punk has the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's like you could use that as a scare tactic, obviously.
Right, and I mean maybe we'll see that down as we talk here, is because like maybe that's a sticking point for Miz and Morrison, being like, hey, Kane, can you fully trust Punk? He's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. He can cash in on you at any time. So we'll see what happens. I know on our next episode, our next 2 episodes, Judgment Day sandwiched between them. So so we got that that little weird scheduling, but like I said, we'll obviously discuss that when we get to those episodes.
Yep.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode here. But before we leave, let's tell everyone where we can be found on social media and what we got going on in terms of other podcasts. So, Gruney, why don't you let us know?
Well, you can mostly find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have this show, and I have Nation Invasion also on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. That's where I looked back at the invasion angle with the WCW ECW Alliance versus the WWF, looking to end it with the Raw from November 19th, 2001, and the SmackDown from November 22nd, 2001, where the WWF is celebrating that they defeated the Alliance at Survivor Series. You can also look back at Survivor Series 2001, which, Steve, you were a part of with Jeremy Nichols as we watched that. But we're looking to finish that one off as well and finish the podcast there. And on the Place to Be Nation pop feed, I have Pop Goes Degrassi with John Kesselika, where me and John look back at Degrassi Next Generation. We are in season 2, episodes 14 and 15. Episode 14 is called Careless Whisper. Ellie wants to ask Marco on a date, but Marco doesn't know if he likes girls or not. And there's a whole ordeal with that, and Marco trying to figure out who he likes and what he likes as well. And then in the episode 15, it's called Hot for a Teacher. JT is acting very immature in his science class because he likes the teacher, and the teacher assigns him guinea pig duty. And when something happens to the guinea pig, will JT man up and take his responsibility seriously instead of just fooling around having the hots for the teacher? So you can find all that out on Pop Goes Degrassi on the Pop Experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. As for me, I can usually be found also on the Pop Experience with my shows. Two of them have been on a little bit of a hiatus, from the holidays, Pop Goes the Classics and Making Mount Rushmore, but they should be back strong starting this month. What has been going strong still has, of course, been the video jukebox song of the day, and our newest daily pod that just dropped recently, the movie review of the day. That's myself and a couple of others. I know Andy Atherton, Chad Campbell. I know Miranda will probably get in on there, but we basically choose a movie and then just kind of do, like a quick 10, 15 minute, review of it. This first week we've done, a couple of like more modern stuff. Like I know for my first one, I looked at Zootopia 2. So we obviously got that, that starting up here, and we'll have some theme weeks going forward. So, so that as we get to kind of get that established as well. So, I can also be found occasionally over on the North-South Connection feed with Cronoso, and anytime Ryan Gray does his little his PLE previews, we have that there. I know obviously we're in the month of January, so we'll soon get starting getting hot and heavy on the road to the Royal Rumble. So we also have a lot of content for that. And also I can be found on the PTB Facebook group, which as this just dropped, our newest tournament just started, where we are determining PTBN's greatest dessert of all time. We have 128 entries between 4 different categories. A lot of great desserts on the table, and I'm very excited to see what does end up winning. So, Gruney, do you have any like specific dessert that you think possibly has the best chance of winning?
I would say like brownies do. I think brownies have a good shot at winning. I feel like they are besides like, cookies, brownies are the next best thing to go with milk. So I think brownies have a good shot.
Interesting. Well, we'll see how that. They are in the tournament, so we'll see how they end up faring. So, excuse me. Like I said, we got a lot of great desserts in this tournament. So, going to be some interesting matchups. But again, that's going to do it here for us at Extreme Resurrection. Like I said, we are going to still try to be pretty regular here. Obviously, like we said, with trying to find these episodes, it may be a little bit harder, but we'll do our best to kind of keep the content flowing as we move forward. So just keep an eye out on the PTB wrestling feed, and you'll see us pop up still pop up regularly. So but with that, that is James Gruenberg. I'm Steve Riddle. This has been Extreme Resurrection here on the PTB wrestling feed, and we will see you next time.
Oh.